Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is present. I'm just messing it up all over the place on this live stream. Okay, Mitch Brisker and I are going to be doing a chat regarding Tom Cruise, Scientology, and the actors' strike. We've got our timing on this mixed up, so Mitch isn't here yet, but he'll jump in when he gets here. And let me start just by showing everybody Mitch Brisker's channel. We're actually simultaneously streaming this to his channel right now as well. If you want to get more content directly from Mitch, go over and subscribe to Mitch Brisker right there. And since I'm waiting for him to show up, what I'm actually just going to do is share with you guys the email that he sent me that was the inspiration for this video. That way we can get the ball rolling, since this is the content that we will be discussing. Mitch says he will be here in 1 minute. So Mitch says, I think this will be helpful just to get some of the information here. I enjoyed the piece you did on Tom Cruise not participating in the actors' strike. Couple of things. Even though I was at Golden Era Productions for most of my career, before going to Gold, I had a lot of experience in the motion picture and TV advertising worlds and maintained connections and awareness throughout my time at Gold. When I was running my commercial production company, I was a signatory to the American Association of Advertising Agencies, the equivalent of the AMPTP. The AMPTP is who the Screen Actors Guild is striking against. The equivalent of the AMPTP in terms of being the official collective bargaining representative for the TV commercial business, just as the AMPTP is for the film industry. Let's see. He says, if you cover this ground again, you might want to have me on to help you decode the arcane world of labor versus management in the movie business. The simple fact is the actors asked for a bigger share of streaming and the producers told them to F off, so they went on strike. It's the age-old drama between labor and management, but with a celebrity twist. The Screen Actors Guild is seen as a particularly cringeworthy outfit, as their membership unemployment is abysmal. Barely 3% of Screen Actors Guild actors are employed at any given time. And you can practically buy your way into SAG, whereas all the other motion picture guilds and unions have relatively high employment numbers and are very strict gatekeepers. As the markedly anti-labor rag, the Wall Street Journal put it during an actors' strike some years ago, quote, when actors go on strike in Hollywood, you cannot find a waiter. Okay, so Mitch says, for Tom to join the picket line would be particularly problematic for 2 reasons. For one, he is personally a member of the AMPTP, which I did not know. So appearing on the picket line, he would be striking against himself. When he asked for permission for actors to promote their movies, he was speaking on behalf of the AMPTP while pretending that he was speaking as an actor. He should have been called out for that. And contrary to your statement that David Miscavige would want Tom Cruise on the picket line for PR reasons, the exact opposite is more likely the case. I can hear Dave's voice now. Tom, why the F would you want to support an aberrated humanoid group like the Screen Actors Guild? Seriously, it would be looked down upon for Tom to be seen as supporting any group other than Scientology. I've had personal experience with this when, as a member of the Directors Guild, I was chastised for pointing out that some of Golden Era Productions' procedures fell outside what the Directors Guild Association considers best practices for ensuring crew safety. The DGA, by the way, is legally responsible for the safety of all cast and crew. Very, very interesting. Okay, so let's see. Mitch, are you there? All right, guys. I'm going to. Oh no, is my microphone even messed up? Holy shit!
Wow, wow. This really is the most misadministered live stream of my lengthy YouTube career. The first 4 minutes, the correct microphone wasn't even plugged in. Absolutely incredible. Well, if Mitch does not get on here in the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to end the stream. Mitch, jump on the stream. Oh my goodness. I should have just waited a few minutes. If you guys have any questions you want to throw in the live chat, I can at least tackle those regardless of anything else that's going on here. Let me see. What does this say? I saw sometimes you just have to cut your losses. Sometimes you sure do, but we're gonna get this one done. We've actually spent like 30 minutes getting it all lined up, and then okay, well, you're in StreamYard, but you're not in the chat. Well, I have all your attention. I am getting so close to that magical number of 170,000 subscribers. And once I do, I'm making a $500 donation directly to the Aftermath Foundation. So many of you viewers out there have offered to match or partially match that donation. So once I hit that goal, I truly think we're going to be able to raise as much as $10,000 for the Aftermath Foundation. So sometimes you might think you're subscribed to a channel, but you're not. YouTube just keeps showing my stuff to you because it thinks you want to see it. So just double check. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Help me get a little bit closer. All right. I'm trying to text with Mitch, and okay, I'll send you the link. There he is.
Hold on. I just need to.
Live. We're live already. We've been live for 7 minutes.
Hey, listen, sorry for being such a noob.
No. That's okay. I just wanted you to know we're live before you say anything horribly inappropriate to me. Mitch, are you there? I can hear you and see you. What you doing? Mitch, you're totally here, live, loud and clear.
You can't hear me? No sound?
No, I can hear you perfectly clear.
That's weird. I can hear myself.
Mitch, I can hear you.
1 second.
Mitch,
you should be able to hear me now.
I can hear you. I promise. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to text you, Mitch. I can hear you perfectly clear. Bada boom.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I got you now. Sorry about that. We're
All right.
having technical difficulties out here on the West Coast. Good to see you.
It's okay. I spent the first 4 minutes of this video speaking with the microphone not correctly plugged in. So we're doing great. We're batting 1,000.
This is perfect.
Exactly. I didn't want to make you look bad, so I came in and I had everything all screwed up. Okay, so let's talk about this strike. Let's talk about this strike. By the way, I read your email so that people had at least we're getting your thoughts on what we had discussed. So tell me about so first of all, I did not know that Tom Cruise was personally a member of the AMPTP. Are you totally sure about that?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I've not seen his membership card, but I'm assuming he is because he is a producer. I mean, maybe he's just a member of the Producers Guild. So I don't know.
The Producers Guild is totally different from the AMPTP, right?
Yeah, I understand that. It's an association. I was under the assumption he's a member, but nonetheless, in spite of that, he still is striking against himself if he joins the picket line, because he's striking against the film itself, being able to promote itself and make money.
True.
So,
true. What I think might be most interesting to hear about is your thoughts on David Miscavige actually thinking that it would be some sort of a lowly activity or discreditable activity for Tom to support a non-Scientology organization like the Screen Actors Guild. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I know from my own personal experience that showing an allegiance to another organization outside of Scientology is looked down upon. In my early days at Gold, being a member of the Directors Guild, I had a little bit of a problem with some of the safety issues. So because the director's team is responsible for safety on the set, I felt obligated to point some things out. And even though I was doing that work outside the aegis of the DGA, because it was my religion and I was allowed to do it, I still felt that I had a responsibility to maintain the best practices in terms of crew safety. Most specifically, it had to do with long hours on location and then having the crew drive back home, which is dangerous, and is the DGA is, they'll throw you out for doing stuff like that. And when I brought this up and I'd say, hey, I think it was really looked upon like, what are you doing? Referring us to somebody else's bylaws, somebody else's standards. So, based on that, it seemed to me that you want to kind of lay low when it comes to your association with supporting other third dynamic groups. Because remember, I'm sure as your audience knows, the Scientology principle of dynamics, and the third dynamic being a group. And first and foremost, you owe your allegiance to Scientology as a group, not some other group. They're just humanoid. So, unless they need it, like at Gold when we needed to get a special compensation from SAG so we could hire SAG actors and mix them with the Gold staff. And then all of a sudden, for 15 minutes, they're your best friends.
So let me ask you this: how does the production schedule up at Golden Era Productions? How does SAG striking impact Scientology's ability to make their films?
No, because they mostly hire non-union talent, so it's not a problem. They do have a contract that allows them to hire SAG talent at a lower rate. That's up to the talent. We've paid people good, way over scale. But they have a contract that they can hire SAG talent and mix them with non-SAG, as long as the non-SAG are their staff members.
Interesting.
Yeah, actually, what's her name? Catherine.
Shirley Sansola.
No. She was a Scientologist who used to work for SAG, who helped us negotiate the deal. Shauna Brake. I'll think of it. I'm so sorry. She testified for
Shannon Brake.
Paul Haggis. Yeah. Brakefield. Yeah. Shauna Brakefield is her name. And she worked for SAG. She testified for Paul Haggis.
I'll take your word for it. I didn't know her.
No, she did. It was in the papers.
Word for it. I did. I'm just saying I don't know her. I don't know her.
No, but I thought you followed the trial. But that's fine. When she was a witness for Paul Haggis, because when she was at SAG, Tommy Davis had asked her to go through his folder, his SAG files, and see if they could find any dirt. So they were trying to show that the church is capable of doing those kinds of things to help Paul out. But
when she testified in Paul's case, was she testifying for Paul or against Paul?
No. She was for Paul. She was in support of Paul. Paul's he was basically saying, hey, look, the church is doing this to me. And she came in and testified, oh yeah, Tommy Davis asked me, pretty much ordered me to go through his SAG files to see if there were any complaints on him or any dirt on him. So, oh no, she was definitely testifying in support of him. But she also, when she was Scientologist, she helped us to negotiate that deal with SAG. But that's a little off.
Why did Scientology want to negotiate that deal?
Well, here's the deal. They wanted to be able to hire SAG actors, but because they already had these staff members that were available to them to be background actors, be faces of the crowd, so to speak, they didn't want to pay for that. So they thought, can we mix? They wanted to mix SAG actors with non-SAG, which is you can't do. So they negotiated a deal because SAG recognized that these Sea Org members that were going to be on the set with SAG actors, they weren't competing with anybody. Nobody was going to get those jobs. So you get it. So there was no concern. So they allowed them to do it.
Okay. So, but you, the SAG, the strike that's occurring, the writer strike, the actor strike, you said should have no impact on Scientology's ability.
No, unless all of a sudden let's say they wanted to reshoot one of the films we did with SAG actors. We did a few films with expensive SAG actors because we really needed the talent. And if they had to reshoot one of those, which I don't think they will, but they would be screwed because they couldn't work, or if they wanted to hire any SAG actors during the strike. But they do so much non-union stuff outside of SAG that it's not going to hurt them at all.
Okay. Okay. So the example that you gave about mentioning to the Golden Era production executives violations of was it the Directors Guild?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that their objection to that was more along the lines, not that you had allegiance to another organization outside of Scientology, but that you are questioning Scientology's own procedures?
I think both. I think that it probably would have been better if I just originated it as coming from me. Like, I don't think this is safe, as opposed to saying, look, here's the bylaws of the organization which is responsible for all safety in Hollywood. I mean, when Vic Morrow and those two children were killed on the Twilight Zone set, John Landis was charged with involuntary manslaughter. So the director is always going to get it. And so even though that wasn't a DGA job, I still felt that responsibility. So when I saw crew members being kept up till 2 a.m. and then having to drive home, I was like, this is not okay. It's actually against the best practices of the industry organization that is responsible for safety.
Interesting.
I mean, remember the tragic death that recently happened with the camera person on the Alec Baldwin set? I'm sorry, I forgot her name. The director's team they were charged. I mean, the assistant director was charged. So they're the safety people on the set.
Wow.
Because they're the ones that are making the decision. Who does, the first question the FAA wanted to know on the Twilight Zone accident was, whose idea was it to get a helicopter that close to those actors? And the answer is, well, the director, because that's who's making those decisions. So they're legally responsible for those kinds of, mishaps.
Oh, this is really interesting. So Golden Era Productions, as a movie production studio, doesn't have any special religious exemptions to union rules. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, they do not. Well, in terms of pay, they don't. They actually they have no special dispensation. They do have to follow state labor laws, and some of these, keeping people up and having them drive home, some of those are considered unsafe labor. So, but they're not beholden to anyone. I mean, I just felt a responsibility because they're hiring me in the capacity of a director. So then I'm going to bring with me not just my skills, but the responsibility for safety on the set. And they try to maintain safety, but they're not beholden to, keeping people up really long hours. And it's not so bad if you're home shooting in the studio, but if you're on location and then you have to drive an hour or 2 hours, it can lead to disasters. It actually did cause a death in Hollywood some years back, and the Directors Guild changed the rules about how long you could actually keep people before you legally have to let them go. It doesn't matter how much you pay them; you just can't keep them after a certain hour.
Do you remember what that cutoff is?
I think it's 16 hours. I think it's that after a person's been on set, I think, but you'd have to look it up. I know that sounds like a long time. Some of these rules are relatively liberal. They're not all that strict, but it makes sense. I believe it's 16 hours.
So, okay. So if Golden Era Productions is doing a shoot and they've got a mix of union actors and non-union actors,
right?
And something happens to one of the non-union actors is it considered a union shoot automatically if you have union actors in it?
No. I mean, they have a very special deal, which they used for a while, and then they kind of. Well, okay. Here's an example. They have some actors that they bring up who are Scientologists. You know who they are. They're people that get television. They get slot. They'll do guest stuff. You know who they are, and those are SAG actors, and they bring them to Gold. And they need to fill up a course room, and they need 15 people in the background. They're not going to want to hire, under the normal rules, they'd have to hire a SAG talent to do the background. But they have a dispensation that allows them to use their own staff. So I don't know if you'd call that a union shoot. The SAG actors are definitely under union rules. They're going to get a break every 4 hours. They're going to get, they're going to get meal breaks, and they're going to get overtime, and they're going to be run under the SAG contract, but they get to mix the non-SAG actors with them.
Okay, so I'm still fascinated about this. So, is it that they're allowed to use union non-Sea Org actors combined with Sea Org non-union actors? That's
correct.
Okay, so they're not allowed to use non-union non-Sea Org actors.
Only their staff. They can only mix the SAG talent with their staff, and they can only use their staff members in the capacity of background talent.
So
which
if they're
means,
hiring outside people, it does have to be union.
if you're referring to actors, right?
Correct.
No, they could do a 100% non-union. They're not a signatory to SAG that only allows them to hire SAG actors. They have a special dispensation from SAG so that if they choose to hire SAG actors, they can, and they can mix them with Sea Org members as long as the Sea Org members are extras. And, the definition of an extra doesn't take direction from the director, as long as they're not, being run by somebody else. You can call them, there's a thing in Hollywood that if you're on the set as a director and you start talking and you give direction to an extra, that person is automatically upgraded to a day player. All you have to do is talk to him. All you have to do is say, would you mind just kind of smiling a little more? Like if the director said that to an extra, the extra is going to smile real big because he just got a bump up.
What if I was an extra in a scene of a movie Simon West was directing, but I was the only extra and Simon West said, "Action, Aaron"?
You're not an extra at that point.
I was robbed.
Yeah, you were, dude. You absolutely should have been paid as a day player if he gave you the direction.
Damn it, I want my money.
Yeah. I'd sue. So,
that actually happened. That actually happened.
No, I can imagine you would not make that up. I could tell by your reaction. That's crazy.
That was the general's daughter, by the way. Okay, so let me see. What else is noteworthy, worth discussing about Tom Cruise, Scientology, and this actors thing? You think, because he's taken a lot of heat for not supporting the actors, and I have said,
and he should, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a lot of people like to point out that the Screen Actors Guild, only 2-3% of their membership makes a living acting, and they get chided for that. There was a huge actors strike years ago against the commercials. When I was running a commercial, I was a signator to SAG as a commercial producer, the same way a motion picture producer would be a signator. So a different organization, AICP versus AMPTP. And so I would get the anti-labor email, which, I'm very pro-labor, so it would kind of piss me off. But I got this one article from the Wall Street Journal, and the headline was, "When the actors go on strike, you can't find a waiter," which is, it's funny, but it's also a really anti-labor statement. But speaking to this idea that only 2-3% of SAG membership makes a living, a lot of them rely on the jobs they get for their health care, because SAG has a $27,000 threshold. If you can make that, you're not making a living at $27,000, but you have health care. So this idea of giving them a fair share of streaming is really important to working families and single people who may not have health care. It's not like, SAG strike, like you think, oh, I won't be able to get my nails done today, I have to go to the picket line. But it's not like that. I mean, if this was West Virginia, they'd be striking against the coal mines. I mean, this is what Hollywood. I grew up in Hollywood, and it's just like I had friends whose parents were on TV series, like literally, and they were working actors and they supported their families. So, if Tom was going to be true to his action star persona, he would absolutely be standing with the actors and not going to SAG and pretending to be an actor by saying, I think the actors should be allowed to promote their films during the strike because, SAG has put a moratorium on actors promoting their films while they're striking.
Yeah.
And that I can't figure out, how does that help actors? How does it only helps the producer? So he's saying, as an actor, we should be allowed to promote our films. What? That there's no, somebody can put in the comments if I'm wrong on this. How does that help actors?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the cast of Oppenheimer famously was at their premiere in the theater after having walked the red carpet. When the text went out to everyone that the strike had been auzed, the entire cast stood up in the middle of the theater and walked the hell out. They did not bitch. They did not bitch about not being able to promote their movie.
Yeah, because and some of them, I'll bet you some of them have producer credits on those films. I'll bet you Margot Robbie has a producer credit on her film, because sometimes some of these actors are so experienced, they've made so many films that they actually can function, they actually perform producer functions really well in terms of pulling together the resources to make a motion picture, which is essentially what a producer does. Some of them just get producer credits because the studio can't pay them enough, so they give them a producer credit. They get money on the back end. They're like, hey, we can only pay you 20 million, but we'll give you whatever, however it works. I'm not really in that business. I'm just aware of how it works. So yeah, I didn't know that, but yeah, he should be, it's a really bad look, especially asking for that waiver for them to promote their films. That is just like, it's a joke. It's just anti-labor. It's plus, it's really about I know so many like working actors that struggle and they need their health care. And every time there's a shift in technology and producers have a brand new pipeline for selling their stuff and, continue to be fabulously wealthy, like we had it with cable, and then we had it with videos of rentals and DVDs, and they always, and now streaming, and the producers always migrate into these new technologies, just cashing in. And initially they tell the actors to F off. I mean, that's why there's a strike. They ask for a fair, a fairer portion share of streaming royalties. And the producer said, we got enough. Yeah.
I did receive an email from someone who's actually on the front lines of the strike, and she gave me some thoughts about it that I'm going to share in a different video. But she explained how the A-listers, there's almost like in each geographical location where the strikes are occurring, there are these little time slots allocated where the organizer of the strike in that location is trying to get A-listers to come just for a little slot to do some media interviews, get in, get out, not have it become all about them, but to show their support in that way. And that is a way, like when Fran Drescher invited Tom to come on the picket line. It's not like she's like, hey, come out, from a 9 to 5 days a week. She just wants him to come for a little slot, do your little media interview and get out of there. And that's kind of what would be in his best interest. The other thing I wanted to mention is so many of these big movie stars have made the jump to streaming. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger is in that new show Fubar. And I think Tom Cruise is probably not going to make that jump. He's all about trying to save the theaters, trying to save cinema, trying to be the last action hero and all that kind of stuff. So in some sense, he seems to be one of the A-listers least likely to give a shit about streaming residuals.
Yeah. Plus he doesn't make money as an actor anyway. He makes money as a producer. So I'm sure he pays himself scale.
Yeah. Could be. Well, awesome. I really appreciate getting your thoughts on this. And if there's any new developments on this, maybe we could do a follow-up. I mean, what if Tom actually does show up for one of these slots, but you think there's a very little chance of that occurring, huh?
I do. I don't know. Maybe he'll fold to media pressure. Maybe he'll have a come to Jesus moment and realize that there's a lot of working families, struggling actors out there that need their health insurance, and that's why they're on strike. I mean, there's also the AI component of all of this, which they're also want to get the AMPTP to create some guidelines because they're worried about, as of right now, somebody can create an AI image of an actor. Maybe they audition some guy and they're like, yeah, I really like him. Let's just create an AI. The guy has no legal right to go in and claim any compensation for that. So and the writers are striking for the same thing. They're worried about AI writing scripts and so forth. So there's a lot going on in this space right now.
Yeah. Okay. Pat Shore says, do you know approximately how many Scientologists that are second or third grade actors will be striking and on the picket lines? I'm totally pro-union, retired from IBEW 1837 after 22 years.
Go
That's
Union.
that'd be an interesting thing to track any of these other non Tom Cruise Scientology actors showing up to support, Elizabeth Moss, anyway, I don't want to go through the list, but it says will be striking. We have no idea how many of them will be striking. I couldn't even tell you how many of them have been striking. Many of them aren't honestly big enough names to get press, maybe. But
right. Well, you're sort of rank and file working actors who are Scientologists. They're all going to strike. There's no reason for them not to. It's just like they'll spend a little bit of time on the picket line. Plus, there is this idea that you want to accelerate this fight so it'll be over with as quickly as possible. And so then, the bigger presence you have, hopefully that'll bring it to an end. Because
cool.
I mean, the writers have been striking since April, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't know. Dave Bowen, give us some phrases to tell Scientology security to let them know we are good people out here ready to help. No special phrases.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what that means, actually.
Yeah. There's nothing you could say to them about helping them leave Scientology that would necessarily be well received. The best advice would be to whatever you say to them, just to be nice and kind and caring, because anything else will just be perceived as hostility and aggression and antagonism and won't accomplish anything really. All right, let's call it there, Mitch. This has been a good chat.
Good. You got it.
I appreciate it. And
anytime. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Oh, and real quick. Oh, that didn't work. Let me pull up your channel again for everybody.
Yeah, thanks for this was kind of a dry run on streaming like this.
Yeah, this is the first time we've done a simultaneous stream to your channel.
Yeah.
You can check out Mitch Brisker at Mitch Brisker or at Scientology The Big Lie. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thanks to everybody who watches until the very end, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.